Hello, all, and welcome to this Saturday afternoon's beer review. Yes, it is a work night, but I don't care. I just want to go and review things while I have money and time to review them. So, what are we reviewing this afternoon? Oh, and yeah, I suppose I should dub this one. I should dub it. I nearly died. So I was driving around a cart today, and it spun out at work, and like it was like full on like Super Mario Kart like spin out there, and that's just because it's a pretty steep hill where I work, and wheels don't really have traction, and it was raining, so I was going down the hill. It was raining, hit the brakes, and woo, all the way down to the speed bump. Yeah, I almost had to change my pants there, yo. Anyway, so what are we reviewing today? Well, this is from a Belgian brewery. This is Gulden Draak, which I suppose is Golden Dragon in Flemish. And this is from Brewery van Steenberge. And it is labeled as a classic, the authentic dark red triple ale. So, high fermentation, secondary fermentation, contains 3 times more malt than a lager. Basically a meal in a glass, which is good, I suppose, if you want to get fat like me. I'm getting pretty fat now. And yeah, this is 10.5 ABV. Says it comes here out of brew tank number 8, and the brew year is 2019. So, yeah, drinking 3-year-old beer. But this is beer meant to be aged. The alcohol level and the amount of malt means that it's meant to be aged. And I'm hoping that it's developed into something quite interesting. So this really isn't the ideal beer that you want to be drinking during this kind of weather, but $7 a bottle and running out of things to review, might as well review it. Oh, and I'd like to thank Randall. He went and gave me the rest of the bottle of Madeira that I reviewed earlier, the one that he had used to season casks. So yeah, I think there's only I'm probably going to have that with either before or after dinner tonight. But yeah, I love that stuff so much. It's not gonna last past this evening. So yeah, that beer and the rest of that wine, this beer and the rest of that wine. Only this much left of that now. So yeah, it's gonna be a good night. But tomorrow's Sunday. Literally, that day, Sunday at work is me basically watching chickens, feeding birds, admiring the flowers on the trees, and killing time very much so. So yeah, without much further ado, let's just go and pour this out. I've never had this before. This brewery is also known for their Pirate Ale, which is probably something I'm also going to be reviewing. Like I said, running out of things to review. So let's just get to this. Of course, this is, well, I've seen it listed on rating. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, wow. That's a fermentation, all right. So, lots of beer on the table there. And I'm going to guess that there's quite a bit of yeast in the bottom of this, so... Oh, yeah. Okay, that's enough of that. And that's why I go and keep these things here, for this exact purpose. And already, from just smelling it over here, you can smell. So, a cloudy amber color, amber orange, with a thin lacing of beige head that is redolent of cherries, stone fruit, brown sugar, treacle, I don't know why it did that. because it came straight from the refrigerator, so I'm not sure why it erupted like that. Yeah, so definitely got that cherry brown sugar note. Very biscuity malts, almost cake-like malts. Yeah, I would say more cake-like than biscuity out the nose there, these malts. And not too much hop present in the nose, just a slight floral note there. Again, very much a malt show. Very sugary smelling. Yeah. Let's go to the palate. Very well carbonated for something that is 10.5, that's for sure. Mm. Up front, brown bread dusted with brown sugar. Notes of caramelized sugar. Not quite molasses-like notes. It's a little bit lighter, but not as light as treacle. Let's see here. I can get a little bit more. I want to get more head here. Oh man, that's a lot of yeast there. Should probably go and not do that. Don't drink living yeast, people. Your lower digestive system will thank you. Yeah, so despite the kind of stone fruit, cherry notes there in the nose, not quite apparent on the palate. Very strong carbonation, which is really quite helping balance out the heaviness of the body here, as well as the sugariness of it, which is quite something quite interesting I've never quite encountered before. I really want this to warm up a bit. So berry-like notes, subtle berry-like notes are emerging in the midst to finish. Hopping is mostly just a sort of bittering hops to balance out the front and the mids. It does its job well. It doesn't draw attention to itself, as this is definitely a malt forward beer, but it's there and helps balance it. For a 10.5, no booziness. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe the aging has helped with that, since this is a 2019 beer. Because I found that aging really helps take, from that Bigfoot experiment, that aging really helps take the edge off of the booziness. More heavier bodied beers ought to turn. Well, I'm guessing because this is, naturally bottle fermented, as you saw from the whoosh when I opened it. That sort of natural fermentation is what led to that higher level of carbonation, as opposed to forced carbonation, which many beers use. That this carbonation is really defining this beer and making it quite different for me. And as you can see, even though the head has, it didn't have much of a head when I poured it, just because most of the head erupted out there when I opened it. The carbonation is sort of replenishing that head so it doesn't go completely headless. Yeah, and as it warms up, the nose is starting to get far more caramelized as well, with those wonderful brown bread, brown sugar notes. Honestly, I'm kind of sad that, just because it's a single bottle and one off, that I didn't get to go and pre-taste this one, because I think there's a lot to explore here. But because the flavor notes aren't very sharp and distinct, it's not something that lends itself very well to that immediate sort of review. That this is something that perhaps is better to mull over a little bit. Yeah, so subtle berry-like notes emerging in the mid to finish as it warms up. But it doesn't really have that stone fruit notes on the palate that it has in the nose. And interestingly, the top note, the notes I'm getting from here when it's on the palate are mostly of the malt. Very much, it's when the brown bread note is the strongest in that top note. Very different from the nose. Yeah, if I was going to do this over again, I would definitely let it warm outside the refrigerator for a little bit more, just to get those sort of berry and fruity aspects out just a tad bit more. Well, considering about 10% of this is left inside the bottle as just a murky haze of yeast, and another 10% basically, erupted out onto my desk, I'm kind of left with only about, you know, 80% of this beer to really sample, and it's going fast. Now I was a little bit hungry before I started this review. I'm not hungry anymore. This beer definitely falls into the category of liquid bread. So since I'm down to the bottom, what's interesting is carbonation is still there. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's still rising even from this very small amount of liquid, and it's still apparent on the palate. Now it doesn't bite like as much like a much more thinner bodied beer would, but it definitely lends balance to a body that would be very cloying, very sticky otherwise. And yeah, it's definitely sticky. Where I wiped up right here, my hand's kind of sticky now. So yeah, lots of residual sugars in this beer. But it's balanced well. Man, I really want to explore this one in another bottle or two. I think this is, something that is worth a bit more than a one-off. It's not going to be a daily drinker by any means, especially since, I'm much more of a session beer kind of drinker nowadays. But when I'm looking for something heavier, this is what I'm looking for. A good balanced beer. Not too hoppy, not too malty. And how they achieve that balance is just really interesting. There you see the side effects of that high carbonation. Ah, there's some verbiage here that I forgot to look at. This beer is named in honor of the dragon perched atop the belfry in Ghent, Belgium, a symbol of power and independence. I love Belgian beers. And it's kind of sad that Belgian beers are not in vogue right now, especially the lighter Belgian beers. I would love to just go and drink a whole bunch of light summer saisons and grisettes, because I love Belgian yeast. It just brings out so many interesting flavors. And even with this little amount left, there's still carbonation bite. That's something of a rarity. Watch if I go and do it like this. Some more carbonation rises. You can kind of see it there. And just to go and show you, these are the dregs I'm not going to drink. I'm going to pour out because I'm not going to be swallowing about a whole bunch of live yeast here. And yeah, it smells very yeasty. But yeah, so Golden Draak, a very, very interesting, very complex triple. Definitely living up to the tradition of Belgian beer. And something that I may go and buy another bottle or two to kind of go and mull over a bit more. And perhaps in the future review again. I don't think this review has really done justice to this particular beer all that well. Though this beer definitely has done justice to the particle board of my desktop. Yeah, nicely sticky on that decaying particle board here after how many years of spilled beers. Don't spill beer on particle board, folks. That part, where I put my glass down, I actually have, duct tape just because the particle board there has become so uneven and broken. Yeah. So, Golden Draak, $7 beer. I think it's well worth it. Very interesting. And that, folks, is your beer review for this afternoon. Dang, I didn't even realize I had gone on that much. It's almost 20 minutes. Okay. Cheers.